Actually, Naomi, why don't you pray for us?
Okay.
Lord, I just thank you, Lord, for this time. Lord, I thank you for, Lord, your love for us. Lord, your will for our lives. Lord, I pray that we would continue to seek you, Lord, and seek out your will. Lord, I thank you for this time, and I pray that you would bless each one here participating, and Lord, whoever listens. Lord, I pray that you would calm our hearts and minds, Lord, and ready ourselves to, Lord, hear from you, Lord, and learn from your ways of life. Lord, I pray that you would bless Emmanuel as he teaches, and that you would just bless this time. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen. For the second one, we're going to continue. We're not going to, doing introduction. We got enough sessions, introduction, everything. You can continue to read either through Wikipedia or other sources. Found some objective and solid, materials about Christian's life, and encourage you to do that. He's a fascinating character, I tell you. So, the more I read about him, I'm more fascinated by him, by his way, his teaching. So, just like just teaching, you always want to think about it. But we're gonna move on to the next one. I think the format it used to be, which I will carry on, is me reading Chinese, then have somebody read the translation in English, which we're going to use the same version in this book, and then have Noah read on the commentaries. Then if needed, I'm going to add some personal comments or have some discussion with you on the topic. Making sense to you guys? Mm-hmm. Okay, because we have more people right now, we might not be able to have everybody share every discussion, right? So we just have 1, 2, then move on the next one, and let's take turns, basically. Make it sense to you? So, yeah. Okay. So we are in 8th chapter in session 2. Now, the compilation of this book formed a certain format. Later days, people began to archive it and made a certain system. It's like they did the book of Bible, am I right? Bible have a different chapter, they call it book. Bible is a compilation of books, am I right? That's literally what it means, Bible. Then in each chapter, right now we have each book, we have a chapter, we have verses. Those are later others did it, okay? So it's in the beginning, don't even have what I call semicolon, those things don't exist in Hebrew language. In Chinese language, we don't have something either, okay? Hebrew book is reading, left to right, right? So right to left, okay? Reversed order, then downwards. Chinese actually is up to down, then right to left. So it's very interesting, the old Chinese. The reason is because reading on different things, people do things differently those days. I don't know, like a scrolls. Those days, the reading format is scrolls, and right? You want to do scroll writing, you have certain ways to copy things. Like a scroll being rolled back, you're writing, then you roll it down, am I right? So, the Hebrew, when Jesus said in Luke 4:18, somewhere said he opened the book of the scroll of Isaiah, read the portion where this is. That means the ongoing reading of the scrolls. Sometimes they have 2 sides, am I right? So the reading that they bound together or set aside, open the scroll. That means open exactly the portion where it is not like us, a book. Like in this format, you have to open up. This is very important for us to understand how record of books are written in the past to appreciate certain things. In Chinese also, they don't have scrolls, but most time in this time they use bamboos, okay? So the things written on bamboo, they tie the bamboo together, so they roll together, So therefore, when you have a bamboo roll together, what have you, compel the writing style be different. Is along the slide of bamboo, top to down, then translate later on either in scrolls, in clothes or other things, especially in printing, they follow the same format. That's where it came from. Okay, not that intended the people there try to make a difference. Okay, be different than modern convention. This is here's our convenience to do the recording, use the materials. They did their thing. Now they're inherited. Today, we begin to reformat things, make it sense to you. We even add annotations like comma, semicolon, whatever those things to the words. That's all later on. Now, then the chapter system and number system begin to add to the Bible here and to this book, am I? As well. So we in chapter 8, verse 2 of a conversation to whatever. So I'm gonna read Chinese first. Elijah read for us this time the translation, as I know I read the comments. Chapter 2 said, 子曰：恭而无礼则劳，慎而无礼则废，则遂。Sorry， 勇而无礼则乱，直而无礼则骄。Okay, Elijah, go ahead.
So it's 8.2?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The master said, if you are respectful but lack ritual, you will become exasperating. If you are careful but you lack ritual, you will become timid.
Okay, the ritual there is a more formal convention of doing things. Convention of doing things. Like when you're eating, today we call what is the word? Ethic, So you're eating, you lay out the plate, somebody gonna say there's a fork on the right side, whatever the convention, okay? You sit in the seats in the face, formal occasion, this way sit together, right? You just every time you went the new order, doing all things, or therefore come with it a wheel of sitting and arrange things. Those are manifestly everyday habits. Somebody going to serve at the table, some going to arrange a meeting, in the set do things up like even us we do it, right? Our meeting times. Those are important to show a certain arrangement. Now with it then different furnishing of things. For example, why you have a chair? All the chairs in the car, have you studied? All the tables studied. Chinese, Japanese don't sit on chairs, right? They're sitting on the floor, right? So that's my point. Therefore, they have different conventions. So when you learn culture, histories, you need to pay attention to the details of those things. And that's my point. Then you understand and begin to say, okay, in that setting, like Japanese setting, definitely they have a different way to entertain their guests, to interact differently, right? Making sense to you? When we sitting, we know the table convention, right? So before you think everybody have a table, that's not true. The dressing system is different. So my point is that those become a convention historically come to our day have a bearing, am I right? If you start a new home, you want to buy furniture, would you buy the Japanese stuff for your home? The seating, everything, the bedding, everything. Because you're not Japanese, you said, no, I'm going to buy a table, I'm going to buy the things that my culture, my way of interact with people related, am I right? So now those are called rituals, if you will. But it's not really ritual, it's a custom. It's the way how you do things, am I right? So thinking about translate that explicit custom of life to how the son talk to a father, how a mother interact with the husband, am I right? With husband before children, and maybe not before children. How a young man come approach elder, how the student listen to a teacher. Those are how the subjects interact with the king, am I right? We heard some startling, interesting stories we think is barbaric or uncivilized. Actually it's interestingly common practice in certain way. For example, some subject or certain person go to a court, they have to kneel down or bow down, whatever the convention is, but you don't just raise your head up, especially as a queen sitting on the throne. You should look at the street, okay, I'm going to look at it, look at you. It was forbidden in those cultures, am right? For a subject to greet or meet with a queen to stare at her, while you kneel down, bow down, stare at her. You literally can be killed because you violate certain conventions. Now, why is that? Because the convention said that is disrespectful. That's not allowed. So everybody's going to have to. Certain movies you guys saw, right? Certain people behave very strangely. Now, right now we look at it as archaic. It's terrible. But those are things that are stipulated by certain cultures, give certain cultures, let's not say terrified to murder you, something like that, But through a culture embodied certain things. For example, today we go to a wedding. Somebody's going to be a best man. Can everybody be a best man? Can everybody be a groom's father or mother? I'm joking. Okay, so somebody's going to give it the toast, right? You all arrange it out. So why? Because somebody come along to help you to arrange that out. Even you don't have professional to tell you, pay high price for people to set up your wedding, right? A lot of money. So if you don't, still you want to have somebody knowledge about those things, unless you just totally don't care, right? So if you have a formal wedding, this is the way you organize it, and you have expertise to tell you if you don't do, how you walk onto the aisle, how you give how you go through it. I went through it, some weddings, how you give the ring, Those are the young girls sometimes has to carry flowers. Yeah, have you guys been to weddings?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, not really yet. You will. So at least you're good to your own. So so anyway, so those conventions. My point is that it carry in every culture, in every communal life, whether we acknowledge it explicitly or not. If somebody continue breaking those things, disrespect all those things, he's not disrespecting merely personal behavior, right? Relation on that. He is violating the whole construct and culture, whether we honor, says what is good, what is bad, what is right or wrong, embody those things. It's not the law. Ritual, the English word, is more strict, right? This is what he does. You don't do this. Bad. True, but it's embodied a cultural expectation or norms. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. So, go ahead, continue.
If you are courageous but lack ritual, you will become unruly. And if you are upright but lack ritual, you will become inflexible.
So the common keyword is what? Ritual. That's why I took some time to tell you. Mm-hmm. Then different people have different character traits, how to deal with, receive those things into their life. And when they don't receive it in a proper way, a proper balance, and Confucius said, there is a consequences, all right? Making sense to you? So like you sow, you're going to reap what you sow with different approach of the things, all right? The rain fall down from heaven, come from different seed, different background. You receive differently, then you going to grow things differently, right? So is the human heart in receiving this culture influences, the culture impartations, with different approach, different attitude, they will show up different character traits, right? Different way carries themselves. That's what it is. Go ahead. Sorry. No, go continue.
The common people will be inspired toward goodness. And if he does not neglect his old iniquities, the people will honor their obligations to others.
So there is a respect there. Topic prior to you guys, me and Noah just casually talking a little bit about the baby boomer generation things. Had some huge transformation. I mean, not necessarily good or bad. That's not a judgment. It's talking about certain breaking down traditions have a huge bearings after Second World War, and then that baby generation today is a major leadership, right? The cultural norm for our generation, and it's huge impact you guys how to perceive yourself to be a member of the family, member of community, a citizen of this nation. and other things, am I right? Hugely impact you. So don't tell yourself that I those things is a lofty topic. It's not, am I right? It's everyday life. It's very realistic. Okay, Noah, can you continue the comment there? So,
Many commentators have suggested that these two sections should be split into separate passages. The first half has to do with the ability of ritual to trim and shape native tendencies so that they fit the mean of true virtue. I mentioned some different verses from different scriptures, and especially 17:1, where study or learning rather than ritual training is described as the force preventing virtue from falling into vice. The second half has to do with the power of charismatic virtue as a force for bringing about political order. One way of making the two sections cohere.
The word is political, can be called social order or societal order, am I? So, yeah, go ahead.
One way of making the two sections cohere is to see the first as a description of how to attain the sort of individual perfection that will then enable one to bring about the political moral suasion described in the second section.
Let's change the political in this book most likely to social, okay, or cultural. So yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Political?
The political is more, yes, really, every nation in this life is a political construct, right? So, but in Confucius' idea, he's not interested to build a political system out there. He's very interested to build a culture influence, Go ahead.
This is how Zhang Shi understands it. If one understands what comes first and what comes last in the way of humans, then one can be respectful without being exasperating, careful without being timid, courageous without being unruly, and upright without being inflexible, and will thereby transform the common people and cause their virtue to return to fullness.
There is a saying which is maybe very strange to us modern mind, but even in the old days, people don't have any dressing code. They don't even dress properly, right? They don't have clothes to dress even, because the old days, primitive states, people pretty poor, barely have clothes to be made, right? So imagine those days. So therefore, a king comes on his court, begins to set up his new kingdom. In China, we have this one called a king named Huang, okay? The first most famous and wise king in China. He said, I'm going to not continue the primitive tribal traditions. I'm going to set up a new order. And so Chinese recording history said, Huangdi Cui Yi Shang Er Tian Xiang Zhi. Huangdi is his king name. He's an emperor or king rather, tribal king actually. Cui Yi Shang means he designed how people govern themselves. Okay, then he said, it bring a huge order, honorable order and prosperous order to the whole nation. And he just did this one thing. Just dress differently, make them interact differently in his court. Then the whole tribal nation, pretty much, people begin to, we need to carry ourselves with some consciousness. We can't just all running around doing other things, or they begin to have awareness of how to dress, how to interact, and people dress differently. If you're a woman, you dress certain colors. A man dresses a certain color. You're a noble, you dress a certain color. I'm not saying the social differentiation. I'm talking about you have a code conduct with a cultural impact. You know how to talk with one another, behave with one another. Have you seen certain family today? We encourage young people continue to argue with young people. Indian, amazing story. I want to not scholarly teach you things. I want to teach you real stuff. Okay, so in India, this one day I heard this news on the paper. Somewhere I read it. Strange phenomenon. A young man. I think this is crazy when I heard that. I thought, that's crazy. A young man sued his parents to bring him into the world, and he filed the lawsuits. Right? He literally filed the legal lawsuits in the real court, and to sue his parents for bringing him into the world. He said, I didn't choose that. You violated my will to bring me in the world. I don't like his life. So my impression, first one, Is I think this is terrible. What is the world happening here? So what do you guys all first impression about this about? Noah? Do you know the story first? Have you heard the story?
Besides what you've mentioned now.
Okay. What do you think when you heard that news? Like heard that kind of story?
I mean, I think
What do you think the parents like? Your impression first.
What do I think the parents
Yeah,
thought?
yeah.
Oh, I have no idea what they thought.
Yeah.
Too.
I think you told me that story.
I told the story before, man.
Mhm.
You would think the young man is out of his mind, am I right?
Yeah.
He's so terrified, terrible in life. He's so miserable, am I right? He don't have good life at all. You know, you would think the parents are most wicked parents and give him a lot of bad things in life, am I right? So therefore, okay, I'm blaming you guys for bringing me to this world, am I right? So, because miserable life going on. Turns out it's not true. You know, this young man was well carried, but he's just a young boy, young lad. I look at it, you know, and they interviewed this guy, interviewed the parents. And they were polished people. They all two are lawyers. Okay, now those are stories in the beginning of my life, began to inspire me to think, read the Bible, and teach things differently. I began to think about what is this happening to modern day society, and then what's how I influence young generation, if you will. You know, would I be like those parents that produce children doing that? I think the point I'm making is they were interviewed, and they think it's a wonderful thing the child did. The reason is they were lawyers, you know. And they want the children to learn everything, to argue, to question, to insist on the right of everything. So the young boy said, "You know what? I just picked a very wonderful point. I didn't choose my will. I didn't exercise my right. You violated my will, my right, by bringing me to the world. You know, so I get to see you guys. You know, they literally feel it's a game. You know, and the parents were so proud of the child." Think he did, he has a legal mind. He found the flaw, he's going to make an argument, right? What's wrong with this? What's wrong is there's many levels wrong. It's more than the parents or the young boys are wrong in terms of personal character. It's a way of absorbing the benefit of Western culture, the legal construct. I'm talking lawyers, the practitioner lawyers. There's a good lawyers in India. They introduce Western culture, but you know what? It's such a distortion of the legal system, what it was legal intended for this nation to be, am I right? I mean, introduce that kind of impression of what a lawyer and whatever lawyer or legal think that's how you go around to interpret and understand Western legal system. That's such a crooked, bad way of looking at things. That's terrible. Totally misses the whole point. Why law was given, why the legal system was given, this, why you want to be a lawyer, right? Now then with that perverted, totally just upside down weird point of receiving Western influence. I think this is wonderful because the Westerners are doing it. Therefore, we are the best. We learn, copy things. We are doing it exactly to the T, to the letter. What they're doing, therefore, is good for that to be part of our next generation. Let them thinking like we think. Do you hear my point? That's what the Pharisees did with the Bible, with the Moses law. And Jesus said, well, you respect the letter of the law, but you never respect the heart and the spirit of the law. So it's here. In a sense, when we recognize certain laws, certain rituals, it's put in place. But we need to recognize who is setting it apart. Who is setting it up? For what purpose is setting it aside? Like sometimes I tell you what to do certain things, right? Naomi, has sometimes tell you straightforward what to do, right? I did not have the chance or the dialogue with you why I'm doing it, right? So I flew my own counsel on my life experiences, and with good expecting I will tell you do certain things. Even show a little bit of attitude too, right? So I like this, I don't like that, I'm pleased with that, I'm not pleased with that. Different than your parents, right? So we have a good relationship, therefore I can do that, right? Can I freely do that with anybody of your age? Not really, right? Only because your parents, our relation in the past, I can do that with you. I can exercise that kind of thing to you, right? You eventually come around, oh, so I maybe have a better purpose in this. Beyond the things is telling me what right, what's wrong, what is happy or not. He has a higher expectation beyond those things, right? Because into his engagement with those things is not just spur of the moment, He carried a bigger context. In the relationship expectation there is beyond the events of the day, right? And that's my point, So that's why you guys are here, right? So now that's exactly right. Some distracted. How are you going to build relationships? How are you going to produce a culturally ordered impact? You can do good to all people. You can busybody do all good. But the lack of order, lack of leadership, lack of direction, lack of priority of things. Let me see something to you, okay? Okay, I have good food. I'm a good cook. Wonderful. But I never treated properly anybody as a mother or a book. I never educated people. How I treated my best gift, right? When I really like. This is the food I'm gonna make. This is how I want you to see it. This is how I'm gonna party the food with you. This is making good food. I can make good food all day long. Tell people, eat my good food. You appreciate me. But I never tell people, there's a certain table set up. This is occasion I set up. This is how I seat most of the guests. This is how I spend time and present the food to my people. So here we go. If I just give the food to everybody, I never impart that culture with the food. Well, what is missing? What's really missing? That might be a customer. Hold on, okay? No, okay, you stop there. You guys can continue. Anybody have any thoughts on this point from there? Mm-hmm. Noah?
Not anything more to expound, I don't think.
I don't want to exhaust the topic. I want you guys to feel free to share your thoughts. Esther, what do you think? Everyday life, because they check on you. You don't think all the time, you feel stressed out, but you're going to be a parent, right? You're going to be a teacher. You're going to set things up. Just imagine you're going to Esther, you're going to take care of the little ones. Younger than you, right? Let's say it's a 5-year-old younger than you. You said, well, mom said, babysitting them today for us, a couple hours. It's running around, right? So let's see, 3 times running around. The first time I said, well, what do I do with them, I can't let them just running around anymore. I needed to, maybe even they don't understand at all. But I can just say, hey, don't just go at that boundary because it's dangerous, so you're going to get yourself wet. Don't just let the dog out the door, so you're going to give them some instructions, right? So of the necessity, if you say never did anything wrong, you're never going to think about the need to do those things, right? So I said, hey, there's ice cream here. You guys feel free to take it. You don't eat too much, right? So each person kind of takes this much. So those kind of things, you're naturally going to give them some rules suited for the situation. My point, in every situation, a person don't do the things will suffer consequences. Then, can you be a good babysitter? I mean, that's your job. They expect on you, right, to do those things, right? Is every mom going to tell you how to use ice cream, how to... they're going to list all the rules for you? Or you study, you have the common sense of your own discretion to do that, right? So is the society. You have, however, to assume those roles to think about it. If you're still 5 years younger, you still belong to the one who should be babysitted. You're not babysitter. You're active. Now you're a babysitter, what have you. You think differently. So is wisdom in life. You don't think like a ruler, like one going to bring order, leadership in the situation. Then you don't appreciate certain wisdom. My point is that this kind of wisdom we're talking about is a princely wisdom. The people expect you to lead, to hold a certain norms and the essence of culture. Am I right? So Naomi, your comments there.
Yeah, just they're talking about passing a culture and a way of life.
Can you repeat the first paragraph? Read it again.
Of the
8 and point 2.
Oh. If you are respectful but lack ritual, you will become exasperating.
Why? Explain it. There are certain verses need to narrow down this on it. Certain verses don't even visit, right? Because it's not necessary. This one is a major one because it's talking about the essence and some instructions of how to practice the culture expectation there. So go ahead. Give an example. Think about a certain person behavior, for example. Irrespectful.
What I'm getting from is you're respecting a way of life, but you're not living it in the right custom or
ritual,
as you were saying.
It's proper order, proper balance,
it's
behavior.
Right,
yeah. It's like somebody. Let's use an example. You love your dad, but your dad said, "Well, when I want to rest, I'm going to bring me a blanket." Okay, out of common sense, you love your dad. You give one time, you will say, "Okay, it's cold. You bring a blanket." And this time it's summertime now, so it's getting, you still, if you don't understand the balances, he will say, "Why you bring me a blanket?" You come a little irritation a little bit, right? Common sense, you should not bring a blanket, You bring a fan, so who knows? But you did that because you think that is good. Your dad, when he rests, always supposed to bring a blanket. That's how you respect. That convention is not right? So therefore he said, "Well, don't blame blanket with my summertime, right?" So the key there is a season change, whether you need a blanket or not. But the action interface is always, what about the blanket? How I do respect my father. So you don't really study the wisdom behind the seasonal change, what your dad really need. You concentrate. Why this time it's good to bring blanket, the next time it's not good? Why you get upset with me? I try to honor you. You're going to scorn and carry a scarred heart. You don't ask wisdom or the need to search out the reality things. And you said, well, what I do is the next thing. When I dad ask a pillow, will I repeat the same experience? Your relation with dad is not, you become fearful, right? Become very, very solid, unwise, uninformed in the sense. And the same experience is supposed to be a wonderful experience. You love your dad, you want to do the right thing, but you don't know whether should bring pillow or not. Or, you can help with a blanket. Now you don't know what with a pillow. I don't want to go to the experience. I don't want to ask dad whether he needs a pillow or not. Because of the blanket, it costs me a lot of problem, So I don't want to cause trouble on me. You want to love your dad, take care of his need, help. But you don't move on to the next thing. Because what? The fearful heart behind it. So you're respectful, but no, not the proper ways going about things. Rachel sends you the proper way you go about things, right? So there's no convention for you. Imagine, Esther, Noah knows of that. And he doing it in a proper, balanced way. So it's common knowledge to you. You're observing the interaction between Noah and your dad as a family, right? Those things, that I need a pillow, that I need a blanket. Oh, I know why. Noah showed you, right? In the action, a healthy, balanced way with the interaction with your dad. He showed to you. You don't have to start it over to figure it out based on different interaction with your dad by yourself to start over all these things, right? It's a natural cultural impartation to you. It's naturally, what dad wants. Right? That's my point. Okay, Noah's absent now. Oh, it's my time. I'm here. Oh, dad need the pillow. He's sleeping, resting, right? So, okay, I'm respectful of my dad. I just bring a pillow. Now, what Noah impart to you is a balanced way of life with your dad on how to respect him, how to love him, right? In practical ways. Who impart that to you? Through a culture context impart to you. You don't do it on your own. You don't set your own experiences into a own standards. There's a convention carried on and impart to you naturally. You know your dad, you said, your dad maybe said a little things up, a little struggle. Let's say it's all experiences, fruitful experiences with no one. Now next thing, your dad gonna start over with you. Or with actually know what you already pick it up, you naturally flow into your dad will say, oh, what a wonderful girl I got here. I don't have to go over this whole thing with her as I with Noah, am I? Am I? You understand how much trouble you eliminated, how much benefit you have in this simple thing? Now, we're talking about whether you need a pillow or not. Simple. Will of respect. What about other bigger things? Making big decisions. Which girlfriend are going to have? Sounds crazy, right? So, but Elijah, I'm bringing my girlfriend to my dad for some evaluation. No, that comes with such respect, Well, would Esther do that with a boyfriend? It's doing nothing. Is more important than a pillow. We all know that, right? So your dad's role and attention should be much highlighted, right? Towards that affair. If you respect him, already start a pillow. I care about your dad has a good pillow or not. Will you not care about whether you should have good girlfriend or boyfriend? For sure you will. That's a natural equation. You don't have to talk about it. Why? Because it's already told when he need a pillow or not. Now that's a power. Power from your dad's point of view, how he exercises love, authority, and counsel. And power for you to learn through obedience, observation, learn there's a whole major counsel in life. More than love, respect to show, but you're going to reap the benefit, am I right? Listen to you? Now, many benefits. When you need the pillow, your children come up. How you impart that to them? Or you choose the wrong boyfriend, wrong girl, you can have 5 children, who knows, you divorce. I hope nobody do that. So, God forbid anybody could. So you don't go that direction at all. Why? Because you have your father as oversight, as a counsel in the process. He will say, I'll not try to control you. I'll not try to overexert my influence over you, but let's go through some basic things. I see a lot red flag in that person. We don't dislike people, we don't disrespect people, but is he going to be your boyfriend? Or here's a red flag. I want to talk to you about that. If he's not able to talk to you that, he's not a good father. He lost his lack in love, and not lacking wisdom, lacking ability to help you, right? So he should be able to do that. He need to be able to do that. That's a good father what it means. Now, not modern culture thing like that. Because why? We don't never carry the pillow story. We never learn the lesson from the pillow. Therefore, when the boyfriend showed up, girlfriend showed up, what I care my father think. The culture, right? Culture. When you're a father, when you're a mother, you want your children to care, right? What do you think, right? You love them, you care about them, you will think, wow, well, sure. By default, they need to know what I think bring to me. But if we don't build those things into our life through the way interact with our parents, we expect we're going to be good parents, and our children are going to be good children to us. Are you kidding me? This is being robbed, this natural endowment. Now, I'm not saying any parents or you want to influence or control the younger ones. Nobody wants to do that. It's a natural kind of process. Now, I'm just talking. I'm talking more close to you, cut your skin, right? Little bit. Making sense to you? It's one thing to try out your boyfriend, girlfriend. I know you're the age, so I talk to you about relevant. But when you get married, well, you got to introduce or have the counsel of your parents, right? That's more than a convention. There's a blessing to you. A blessing to you. I hope I'm making sense to you guys. I'm talking more sensitive topic, but those things should be discussed. Those things you should know. Those things you should learn as basics in life. Those things you need to listen and someone talking about. If I'm not a friend to your father, I'm not a friend to you guys, or listen as an elder to you guys, I can't even read the topic, right? Alright, so. Am I right? Yeah? You don't allow anybody to just talk to you, and properly do things to you. Why you do that? Because your dad has introduced a culture, influence your life. And this has become a norm for you. Now, when you go out to begin to teach others, be an elder for others, you say, wow, those are the things I need to care and impart to young people. So grievances, heartaches, wrong ways of going about life will be limited by in casual conversation, casual quote, right? In small conversation. Some will say, well, you're just talking overtly. Why you talk like that? Who knows? I not save your marriage. Who knows? I not bless your offspring, right? One conversation. That's true. That's true. There's many in my life. Many have problems and come to me. Okay, what do we do? So that's good, wonderful. Thank you, for paying attention. But I would hope we learn. We don't go there. Have to scratch, have to be bruised, have to cry for help. We should know what to do, and we're gonna help others who are able to do it. And I should know why you pray for us. So that's when you respect certain rituals here, certain balanced way of life, wise way of life. To do things. Go ahead, pray for us. We'll continue.
So Lord, I do pray that we would, Lord, take into mind the relationships we have in life, Lord, how we build and thrive in them, Lord, how we are led by you in them. Lord, I do pray that we would be students of life in this sense, Lord, students of your spirit, Lord, in the way that we learn about how to relate to one another in this proper order, or in order to bring about this culture, Lord, that is of your house. And Lord, I pray that even in this time, as we go through these teachings, Lord, that we would have this frame of mind, Lord, as it concerns your ways and, Lord, the way of understanding relationships. Lord, that furthermore we would put it into practice in our own lives. Pray this in Jesus' name.
In Jesus' name. Naomi, can you finish the first paragraph? The first one is respectful with the rituals help so we don't become exasperated. The second one, if we're careful, right? We have the tendency to be careful. But if we don't have a ritual, what have you, we become intimidated. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do anything in the end, right? So fearful. This is the third one. Go ahead with the third one.
If you are courageous but lack ritual, you will become unruly.
Okay. Can somebody give me a character? They're happening dogs, right? Some dogs do that, right?
Yeah.
So, you understand my point, right? So, Esther, do you have an example? Think about it. Certain persons or certain animals. Is this making sense to you, right? So.
Yeah, kind of.
Okay. What are your confused with?
I'm just not the best at making up examples.
Okay, somebody courageous, right? He's just ready to face the challenge, ready to do something, right? So, same kind of the soldier, okay? He's ready to charge, fight, right? But he don't listen to the commander, right? Don't care about how other people to catch up about. Can he be a good soldier? And he died. Not afraid to die, but he actually maybe caused harm to the whole people, right? The whole army. the war.
Being ready to do what he's trained to do, but not doing it in the way that
Exactly,
like,
it's not proper,
told to do
right?
it.
Not
Yeah.
proper, not wisdom. So many people do that, right?
doing it in their own way.
In the sports world, especially, right? So supposed to play with others, is do it his own way, right? So we're daring, we're admirable if you think about it. We need that, right? Somebody able to take action, But when it's not proper, not considered, not wise, it causes much damage rather than doing benefit, right? So we lost the whole game because certain people are ruthless, right? So yeah, go ahead. Yes, the last one. Noah can comment the last one instead. Give example. This is how I want you to read. I zoom in, slow down because I want to teach you guys how to learn things. If we just go through it, it's another textbook, right? Another reading. It doesn't mean anything. No, I don't want that. I don't want you to just absorb information. I want you to really learn real life lessons. So go ahead. If you're upright,
Am I reading or Noah?
no, that's what.
If you are upright but lack ritual, you will become inflexible.
Think about it. Give a living example or description of this.
Well, it seems like this would be an example of perhaps like a self-righteous person who adheres very strongly to his own standards of what is right and wrong, and therefore develops a sort of stubbornness, rigidness, yeah, maybe a callousness too towards
rigidity. Sorry, yeah, okay, yeah.
One thing I recognize in all of these, they all follow kind of a similar pattern.
Yes.
That is that it seems like things like respect is the first one, and then being careful is the second one. Each one of these seems to be like a result of people who aim to acquire or practice these qualities or these virtues as a means of themselves instead of saying being respectful, serving a purpose of saying
that's really good point.
practicing the culture or the ritual in the right way.
Yes.
So like if one desires to be a respectful person so as to be merely a respectful person as the end of all things, then that person will naturally and likely develop a sense of subservience, which is so that word, by the way, means someone who's like always like super like overly. It may not sound like a real thing, but there are such things as like being overly respectful in a sense, because maybe not overly respectful, but being like, what's the word? Like really, really almost going way too far in the way people humble themselves. And at least from my personal experience, those sort of people actually are very exasperating.
We're dangerous kind of people.
Yeah.
If you don't do it with a good heart, they eventually say, this is learn me nothing, result in nothing good. I'm going to throw it off, right? So.
Or perhaps, like in the second example, you have someone who seeks to be, as a means of itself, in and of itself, like a careful person, and so that person who tries to apply the sense of wanting to be careful in everything one does, that person will naturally and likely become someone who's very timid and fearful in the way that they engage in things. Same thing with the courageous person. If they don't have that sense of wisdom that comes with knowing that courageousness is not an end in itself, but serving the purpose of practicing the ritual or practicing the right way, the culture that this virtue should aim towards, then
especially
this person is unruly.
You don't want such a person to be a general, right?
General, right?
Or ruler, right? They master great resources or great stake of human lives, and make ruthless decisions cost a lot, right? So
all I'm saying is this is according to the same understanding that virtue is not an end in itself, but virtue serves as a means to an end.
Yes.
But people that see virtue as an end in itself end up like this, that they do
Keep
things
your time
without
expound. I like what you share. So
Well, it's the same mentality comes even with spiritual gifts, as we've talked about too. There are some Christians who pursue those as
Means to end.
No, they are a means to an end, but there are people that pursue them as the end.
Oh, the
in a
end,
sense,
yeah.
spiritual gifts is and it's being able to acquire and practice them is the height of spirituality to some people.
Yes.
But when that happens, they're going down the wrong path altogether.
That's the wrong path. Yeah, exactly.
They're doing it without or lacking ritual, as like an example is what that means.
Exactly.
Lacking wisdom, you could even say.
Lack wisdom.
It's synonymous
true
in some ways.
discernment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Elijah, any comments on this point? We move on then.
Yeah, kind of
Go ahead.
just through it all, just learning how to live and follow life through the correct manner and to live with wisdom.
Yeah.
And
You're definitely better today than you used to be.
yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
And I'm sorry
then-
to say that, but not try to put you in the wrong spot, but that's my point. You know?
Yeah.
So,
But yeah, just like
a lot of
maturing
huge improvement, right?
Mhm.
Huge improvement in sibling relationship, friend relationships, how you act with your parents, how you act with me changed, So I'm some of the peripherals people, So and you just changed your joy. I mean, in this, I can hear you, really hear things, really taking to heart things, It used to be this, very well out because you don't really see the value of those things, right? So, I'm not accusing anything.
No.
I'm just saying there's some fundamental change. I see Esther in the past few months has suddenly changed. You begin to absorbedly listen, absorb, taking interest. Used to be this girl, oh, good. Talking with you. Esther wanted to pray before we move on. So,
Father, I thank you for this day. I thank you for these things that you are revealing to us.
you guys are joy to me. In this discussion, really enjoy it because I see the understanding heart, come about. See, that's how you learn things. Things of this nature is very practical. It changes you. When it changes you, the benefit of life is huge. It's huge. You don't know why you make the right decision. Huh? But the truth matter is you made the right decision a long, long time ago. Because you absorbed and honored certain cultures, certain wisdom, certain ways of life. So that's how really teaching should be done in the Lord, in real life. So go ahead.
I pray that we would receive these things and take them to account in our lives. I pray that you would keep our hearts and minds open to keep these things in mind. I thank you for Emmanuel teaching us. I pray that we would learn to learn. I thank you for this time. I pray that we would continue to follow down your path and trust in you. And I pray these things in your name.
Okay, we're going to move on with the next one. We're not into a lot of discussions, read the things. If there's comments, simple comments, no, and I can give to it. So let's read the next one, 8:3. So we're going to pace it up in the days to come, okay? Wow, 8:3 is what? I don't have it. Okay, maybe this one. Oh, that's it. I don't know. Oh, my 8:4 是正之有戒，专门弟子于其余足，其余手，是云：战战兢兢，入临深渊，入立薄冰。而今之后，国之面夫小子。Okay. Who's gonna read it? You read it for us, Elijah. The translation.
Master Zing was gravely ill and called his disciples to his bedside. "Uncover my feet, uncover my hands," he said to them. The odes say, fearful and cautious, as if looking down into a deep abyss, as if reading upon thin ice.
Shredding?
Training.
Treading upon thin ice. Only now can I be sure of having made it through safely. Note this, my little ones.
Interesting story, huh? Zheng is a disciple. Actually, I think it's a third generation disciple, or even descendants of Confucius, I believe. I'm not so sure now. No, he's a disciple, but one of the major disciples after孔子. So he's the one, and he's the students most likely are responsible for the publishing of this book. Okay, that's why his word also was paired together with Confucius' sayings. So let's get to the comments there. So go ahead.
The purpose of uncovering the feet and hands is to see that they remain unharmed. Not a given in early China, where amputation was a common punishment. Master Zheng was particularly known for his filial piety, one of the main principles of which was preserving one's body intact. As the classic of filial piety says, one's body, hair, and skin are a gift from one's parents. Do not dare to allow them to be harmed.
Now listen to this, okay? In modern day, in this culture, we don't necessarily call it frostbite. Have you guys got a frostbite in your life? You know, I got many times. My finger in winter time, I don't have gloves. So every winter, you're gonna have frostbite. Okay? Finger literally lost in numb, you know, and toes gonna numb. That's every winter. So I'm gonna have those. So when goes to frostbite, what have you, try to cover it, but not really doing the job, right? So, and it's a very itching process when it begin to come back to your senses, So it's very terrible experiences. So, but you're poor, you don't have anything to do. What do you do? Because that's all you got, right? Electricity, fire, so you have to just suffer. So, and you had to go to school, by the way. Sometimes you had to work. So it's terrible time. So if it's terrible, you have to cover it up, just rest, and go anywhere. So, imagine this gentleman might go through a terrible frostbite. My time is not that terrible, as terrible as it is. Imagine the Asian China, right? So people go through things. Anyway, go ahead.
It is only now on his deathbed that Master Zheng can be sure to have made it through life without disrespecting his parents in this fashion. The quoted ode is intended as an expression of the anxiety about upholding filial piety that he has felt his entire life, and also to serve as a warning to his disciples.
This guy went through life pretty, basically unharmed, uneventful, right? Unharmed to his own. He didn't lose limb, didn't really have serious, damage by life. So that's very uncommon experience for humankind across the board. Human lifespan, for most of the time, so about 300 years ago, let's see, the evolution time is average about 30 years old. Most of the children, half of it dead before you even have the chance to grow up. So mortality is huge. So you can study that to figure, you can see mortality has changed dramatically in the last half of century, last century or half, maybe more, so mortality rate, so one of the great achievement of humankind in modern days is children don't have to die anymore, newborn rather don't have to die. So, but that's not the case, for humankind. So we live on the priority level, but still you have a life goes on, right? That's not the case, of course, for humankind. So for most part of human history, most people don't have the chance to grow up, so unfortunately. So, well, just saying this guy, he lived a long life, and it comes to life, finally he went through, he had a lot of good influence, and he just being thankful, But he said, the reason I was able to do this is I care about the life. I care myself in an orderly, wise way, which is come back to point 2, from the balanced, wise life. So he carried a very good way of life, a wise life. Therefore, go through life, keep himself well, had a lot of achievements, right? Able to teach a lot of people. So I said, right, because I listened to this teaching that he was written in the art or the collection of poems, Asian poems. He said, when you live a life, there are places basically you need to be very careful. The Bible and the martial art to be very, what the word called sober, am I? Peter pretty bold, cut people ear off, he did. So he was very courageous, And but he said in the end of the day, he said, hey, be careful, be sober-minded. Be sober-minded. Drunken people, they do foolish things, right? Many of the heartaches, terrible experiences because people getting drunk, they lose control of themselves. They be more than decent, but sober-minded, able to exercise self-discipline, self-control. So certain people said, oh, I had to talk about that. I had to stop. Sure. Many of the occasions you're allowed to do that, but not before a judge when you're a criminal. Everybody claim the faith, am I, in this day? Because your word is going to convict you. The police warn you even when you get arrested, you suspect about some crime. People say, hey, our word is going to be counted, in the court, going to use against you if you so be careful with what you speak. So the reason is that whether you go to the court or police begin to claim you right, now at the time you begin to say, oh my God, this is not an occupation. I can't just open my eyes, talk whatever is go through my mind anymore. Somebody else going to hold me accountable. So you want people to hold you accountable. You want the restraint to happen to all good citizens. Why? Because bad people can be checked. Bad behavior can put in bay at least. So the reason is you apply that in a social context, not in a fearful context, but apply the same discipline the way to think about your major decision in life. Okay, girlfriend thing. Okay, Elijah is saying the modern day culture, young people just everywhere said, go ahead, have fun, do whatever you like, right? Even Christians who said, don't do it, we think it's still more restricted, right? We Christians, we just don't do those things, right? So nobody actually teaches the real wisdom. I'm going to wrap it up with a story of ours, okay? I just be friends with your parents. I don't know them very much, but I little have a reputation of wise man, little circle. Okay? So they're willing to help me to pray for people. One of the occasion, your dad and friends came from Dallas, friends of Lolly and Dan. So she got 5 children at the time. She's about 20-something, less than 30. The husband was unfaithful, was just maybe the womanizer, use the word, so it's foolish. But finally she got it discovered and she put it out. She wanted to basically divorce. So the family tried to go through the final round, and I was involved a little bit. What do with the situation? Should I divorce or not? Well, look at her. She was crying, torn apart. But I tell her, hey, you are a young lady. The husband, broken-hearted, want to come back and to be faithful. She got some addiction, but it's not that she cannot or unwilling to work on and not able to work on. At least there's a willingness to do it, right? So everybody tell her she has the right to divorce, she almost like teach the husband a lesson, I said, that's not right. The husband begging, crying, weeping, waiting at the door all day long. I tried to reconcile the relationship, and she did a terrible mistake, So, you, a mom and young, forgive him and reconcile relationship, try it out, right? Then you can make a decision. If he still remain unfaithful, get divorce. But don't just wrap it up thinking nothing else. We're not just going to teach You are young. What about the children? How are you going to support the children? It's not that bad people, ugly people there. It's just different lifestyle. Now, why the husband do that? Embrace the wrong lifestyle, right? So why the young lady think it's a wise decision and the counsel for the people around seems care about her, but really not wise. Try to turn the relationship apart. And they never think about what the child gonna grow up with a father or not. The young lady, can she support herself? The 5 children, can she get married very easily? Is she gonna work? That's my point. Those are serious life decisions. Not told her we're blank fantasy. You should not divorce. Seriously, the first this principle of God, learn to forgive people. When the sister repented, and give them a second chance, to make it right. There you go. That's the basic decency, right? So, regardless of much mistake people made, they said, I'm sorry, I did something terrible wrong. I want to do it. Don't want to do it again. I want to do it right, So, and always give people the chance to do it. Okay, I'm telling you guys, that's true. Regardless is this solution or not, even a dog want to do that, you give a dog the chance. Okay, so anything, anybody. It's just being gracious to people. So being fair to life. Life is not fair to you, but you try to be fair to life. So, and the second thing is be realistic in life. Think about the great responsibility, not just your feelings, not the spur of the moment, what's going on. Now, how you do that, how you don't run into the situation of life thinking differently, have a sober mind. And there's 2 young persons have no sober mind whatsoever. Therefore, they caught everybody in this storm, and people like a powerful relation like me, seriously being counseled because nobody know what to do. And ask me, and I don't know anything. I just said, here's what it is. Didn't listen. I don't know where the life today look like. I don't think her relation still stand the same. So I never heard too much recent years about her life. Now, what of her children's life? The 5 children, they're going to have a future, right? Where they are, what are they doing in their life? When people have opined those relationships, those moments, have they think about the 10 years down the road, the child is going to grow up without a father, without a family? They don't think about this. I'm sorry to see that. But would you do that? I seems give you guys lessons prematurely beyond your age. That's not true, guys. Okay? This is not true. Listen, you go to school, today's young people in the school, they got all kinds of problems. The family goes through all kinds of troubles. They already through into the roller coaster of life already, am I making sense to you? They have to learn those basic lessons. If you never encounter those things, somebody has to come along and tell you there is some unsavory things in life we need to learn, right? We're not a flower in a wormhole, whatever. We need to learn reality life and learn those things. Now, I want you to pray. Yeah. The reason I share with you is this person, whether conscious or they have a very sober mind and cherish their life to put in the hard value. It's like you treat your life like a treasure. You don't mistreat it. If you don't allow yourself, not false law, you don't value yourself, don't honor yourself, do you going to expect others to value it? Or God value it, God honor it? You don't respect yourself. You just throw your life, like in the dirt. Do you understand my point? If you treat you're a diamond, you don't treat your diamond, how you can be a diamond? Nobody will treat you like a diamond. You don't allow yourself to be polished, to be used, and to be, useful, whatever, as diamond. then you can never be a diamond. People just treat you like a rock, or God will treat you like a rock. So therefore, God wants us not to be proudful, not arrogant, conceit, but He wants your light to shine, right? You have value. Now, how you do that? By honor yourself, respect yourself, respect decision in life, respect counsel in life. And I hope I don't indoctrinate you guys, okay? Look, you guys are very respectful people. Don't go with the senses. Don't go with the spurs of moment to make a decision. And be cautious with those people who do that to you or with you. It's fun. It's wonderful. It's poetic. It's romantic. Whatever. I'm saying barely boy relations, but it's fun, exciting. Everything is broken, bruised, falling apart, and you don't want to do that, right? So then the people with you will suffer because the wrong kind of decision you make. If you care about people, you care about yourself, you will not do those things. Let me pray for us, and then while Elijah prays. So. You at the time, you guys in the time to actually learn those things, the perfect timing for these kind of things. Am I, Naomi? Huh? Before it's too late, am I? Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, Lord, I pray that we would carry on your way of life, Lord, and your culture, Lord, as we grow up and learn your ways, Lord. Lord, that we would respect and honor each other and ourselves, Lord, in the way that you have presented, Lord, and teach us. Lord, I pray that Lord, we would honor and respect our parents and Lord, learn from them and the others that you have put in our life to put counsel in our lives. Lord, I thank you for your way of life, Lord, for your purpose in our life. Lord, may we continue to practice and live out the ways that you have, Lord, set out for your people and your culture. Lord, I pray that you would bless each one here, Lord, each heart and mind, Lord, that we would take these things and begin to practice them and do them in our lives. And pray this in your name. Amen.
I don't want to rob your joy or sincere fear or negativity in your life. I mean, just learn wisdom, learn balance, right? So this book talk about, the Bible talk about, wise people in the world all talk about it, right? So yeah. So go ahead, Elijah.
Yes, Lord, I do second these prayers and these teachings. I pray that our hearts and minds would be open and ready for these new things, Lord, this wisdom, and that we would take it to heart, and more than that, we would practice it in life and make it a way of life, a way of thinking, a way of processing, of living. Lord, I pray that we would pass it on to our children, and that we would live our lives, Lord, honoring you and just making new trails, Lord, in the journey of the life in you. So, Lord, I pray you can bless each one. In Jesus' name.
Amen. Wrap up here. Not too late.